Chapter 2777. After pulling the young man into the array, Lu Ming's black light shrouded the young man and blocked the blood-red mist outside. He still wanted to take the young man as a hostage, so he couldn't let him die. Ah! The young man screamed in horror. When he realized that he was fine, he became bolder and shouted, "Kid, let me go. Let me go. I can let you go, but you have to get your people to remove the array and let me go. Also, give me 100 ancient god flowers, no, 500 ancient god flowers." Lu Ming said coldly. 500 ancient god flowers? Impossible. The young man shouted. What do you say? Do you want him to die, or hand over the ancient god flowers and let me go? Lu Ming ignored the young man and looked at the descendants of the ancient gods on the cliff. The descendants of the ancient gods had ugly expressions. Kid, do you know who he is? He's the son of the great elder. If anything happens to him, you'll die too. An old man said coldly. I don't care whose son he is. If he doesn't hand over the ancient god flowers, I'll throw him out and let him die in this array. Lu Ming said coldly. He didn't care whose son the young man was. The higher the young man's status, the better. That way, he could get the ancient god flowers and leave. You. The old man and the other descendants of the ancient gods all had ugly expressions. These people looked at each other. For a moment, they didn't know what to do. Save me. Save me. The young man shouted. We have to report this to the great elder or the patriarch before we can make a decision. The old man said. There's no need to report. At this time, a cold voice sounded. Then, a tall old man with white hair and a beard walked over. The young man was overjoyed when he saw the old man and shouted, Father, Father, save me. Greetings, great elder. The other descendants of the ancient gods bowed. It turned out that this person was the great elder of the ancient god clan. This person has a very high cultivation. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat when he saw the great elder of the ancient god clan. The pressure this person gave him was shocking. This made Lu Ming feel as though he was facing the outer sect elders of the Kongxian school. One had to know that the outer sect elders of the Kongxian school were all sky celestial realm existences. It was very likely that this person was also a heavenly god. The great elder of the ancient god clan looked gloomy. He looked at Lu Ming and said, Let my son go, and I promise to let you go. Hearing those words, the young man was overjoyed. Give the 500 ancient god flowers to me first. Then, remove the formation and let me leave this place. Then, I will naturally let them go. Lu Ming said. Let him go first. Shouted the great elder of the ancient god clan. Release him first. Do you think it's possible? Lu Ming sneered. He didn't believe the other party. Kid, don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. The great elder of the ancient god clan looked gloomy and was filled with terrifying killing intent. Hand over the ancient god flowers, remove the formation and let me go. Then, I will naturally let them go. The conditions are simple. Lu Ming said coldly. The great elder of the ancient god clan's expression changed. Finally, he showed a determined look. The secret of this place must not be leaked. Wei go in peace. Father will avenge you. What? Hearing that, Lu Ming was shocked. The great elder didn't care about the young man's life and death. He didn't even care about his own son. No, no, father, no, save me. The young man shouted crazily. Continue to activate the formation. Also, send out experts to block this person's escape route and prevent him from rushing out. This time, everyone who came in must die. None of them can be left alive. The great elder of the ancient god clan ordered coldly. Yes. The other descendants of the ancient gods flashed and rushed to the valley where Lu Ming and the others came from. They wanted to prevent Lu Ming from rushing out from there. Damn it. Lu Ming roared inwardly. His eyes were cold as he stared at the great elder of the ancient god clan. Since you don't even care about your own son, I will fulfill your wish. Lu Ming's mind moved. The ice chains wrapped around the young man and sent him into the blood-red fog. Kai suddenly, the sound of corrosion came from the young man's body. The young man screamed miserably. Wei, go in peace. Father will avenge you. I will crush this brat's bones and scatter his ashes. I will let him die miserably. The great elder of the ancient god clan's voice was extremely gloomy and cold. This old man, could it be that he was the one who set up this formation? Lu Ming couldn't help but think. He couldn't help but suspect that the great elder of the ancient god clan had set up this formation so that he could condense the ancient god heart. That was why he didn't even care about his own son. Since you don't even care about your own son, I will fulfill your wish. Lu Ming threw the young man into the valley. The young man screamed miserably. After a while, he stopped breathing. The great elder of the ancient god clan was filled with killing intent. If it weren't for the fact that he was also afraid of the blood-red fog, he would have already charged in and killed Lu Ming with one slap. Activate the formation. Let's see how long he can last. The great elder of the ancient god clan ordered. Buzz. Suddenly, the runes in the surroundings shone even more dazzlingly. The blood-red fog in the formation became even denser. Lu Ming didn't stay. His figure flashed, and he entered the fog. He rushed toward the valley he had come from. However, when he arrived, he found that outside the array, there were many powerhouses of the ancient god's descendants. What a mistake! Lu Ming muttered. This time, it really was a mistake. He hadn't expected the great elder of the ancient god clan to be so ruthless. He didn't even care about his own son's life. Originally, he had planned to take that young man as a hostage and exchange him for some ancient god flowers before leaving. Otherwise, Lu Ming could have rushed out of the valley without anyone noticing. He might have succeeded. But now, it was too late. A large number of experts had surrounded him. If he charged in now, only death would await him. I can only go in another direction. Lu Ming entered the fog again and rushed toward another valley. There were a total of 8 valleys here. He didn't know where the other 7 led to. Lu Ming randomly chose a valley. When he approached the formation, the 9th ice chain flew out. With the head of the ice chain as the core, it constantly rotated. Bang! There was a hole in the light shield of the array and Lu Ming dashed out. There were ancient god descendants guarding this place. As soon as Lu Ming rushed out, he was discovered. That brat is here. Stop him. Kill. Those ancient god descendants charged at Lu Ming. However, there weren't many people here. Most of them had gone to the valley Lu Ming had come from. There were only 7 or 8 people here. World extinguishing 3 strikes, moon severing. Lu Ming exerted all his strength and cast the 3 strokes of annihilation. A crescent-shaped attack burst forth. Boom! Of these ancient god descendants, the strongest was only at the 8th level of the true god realm. Lu Ming broke through their defenses and rushed out. Chapter 2778. As soon as Lu Ming broke out of the encirclement, he ran towards the depths of the valley. This kid is here. Don't let him get away. Chase him. The descendant of the ancient god roared and chased after Lu Ming. Chase him. You must catch this kid. I'm going to grind his bones to dust. The great elder of the ancient god clan roared furiously. He dashed out and chased after Lu Ming. Lu Ming cast the 9 heavens Kuan Peng technique and flew at full speed. He dashed out of the valley very quickly. Behind this valley was a boundless area of hills and rivers. In some places, one could even see palaces and houses. Obviously, this was the residence of the descendants of the ancient god, where the real ancient god mountain was located. But now, Lu Ming couldn't care less. He randomly chose a direction and rushed over. Behind him, the descendants of the ancient god chased after him. Lu Ming performed the Garuda technique to the extreme. His speed was amazing. He was like a Garuda leaping through the void. Soon, a mountain peak appeared in front of Lu Ming. The environment on the mountain peak was very good. There was a small lake and a house beside the lake. At this moment, Lu Ming saw a young girl practicing swordsmanship by the lake. Her swordsmanship was agile, like a silver snake dancing in the air. It was obvious that she was extraordinary. At this moment, the descendants of the ancient god who were chasing after him were shocked. Oh no, the residence of the 3rd miss is ahead. One of the descendants of the ancient god exclaimed. Idiot, don't shout, another descendant of the ancient god shouted. She shouted so loudly. What if Lu Ming heard her? Unfortunately, it was too late. Lu Ming had heard that person's shout. Third miss. Seems like she's a big shot. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold as he rushed towards the young girl. The young girl had already seen Lu Ming. She was slightly stunned and then shouted, "Who are you? How dare you trespass on my cultivation place?" Lu Ming didn't bother to talk nonsense with her. He formed a big hand with his divine power and grabbed at the young girl. "You, how dare you?" The young woman was shocked. The battle sword in her hand slashed towards Lu Ming. This young lady was a peak 9th empty god realm cultivator. The divine power she controlled was also powerful. However, such cultivation was nothing in front of Lu Ming. The huge hand pressed down, and the sword light collapsed. The young woman was caught in Lu Ming's hand. Third miss. Let go of third miss. Behind them, some ancient god descendants rushed over, and when they saw the young woman being captured, their expressions changed drastically, and they started shouting loudly. Stop right there. Lu Ming used his divine power to form a giant hand and grabbed the young woman. The descendants of the ancient gods all stopped in the distance, not daring to get close. Clearly, they were afraid of the young woman's identity. You. Who are you? Let me go. The young woman cried out and struggled with all her might. However, with her cultivation, how could she break free? Third miss. This person is an outsider who harbors ill intentions. An ancient god's descendant shouted. You're an outsider? Let me go, you despicable outsider. The young woman struggled and shouted angrily. However, Lu Ming was not moved at all, and he quickly retreated with the young woman. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Behind them, many figures flew over like lightning, and the one leading them was the great elder of the ancient god clan. Great elder, save me. The young woman cried for help. Kid, let her go. The great elder of the ancient god clan roared, and a terrifying aura pressed down on Lu Ming, causing Lu Ming's body to tremble violently. He kept retreating, and he almost vomited blood. Terrifying. The great elder of the ancient god clan was extremely powerful. He was definitely a heavenly god, otherwise, he wouldn't be able to release such a terrifying aura. Back off, or I'll kill her. Lu Ming bellowed, exuding a cold murderous intent. The long spear in his hand was aimed at the young lady's glabella. The elder of the ancient god clan and the other members of the ancient god clan turned pale. Kid, how dare you? The great elder of the ancient god clan roared. Why wouldn't I dare? Anyway, you won't let me go now. At most, we'll die together. With such a beauty accompanying me, it's worth it. Hee hee. Lu Ming sneered. The great elder of the ancient god clan looked pale, but the young woman's identity was not to be underestimated. She was the third daughter of the ancient god clan leader, and also the ancient god clan leader's favorite daughter. He didn't dare to act rashly. He could ignore his son's life, but he couldn't ignore the life and death of the ancient god clan leader's daughter. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to bear the consequences. Kid, let me tell you. Even if you capture the third miss, you won't be able to leave the ancient god's mountain. The ancient god clan won't compromise. The great elder of the ancient god clan said coldly, and his face was resolute. Lu Ming frowned. The great elder of the ancient god clan seemed determined not to let him leave the ancient god's mountain. He didn't even care about the life and death of his son, as if he was afraid that the secret of the ancient god's mountain would be leaked. If Lu Ming used the same trick again, using the young woman as a hostage to force the great elder to let him go, the great elder would probably fight to the death. If that was the case, in such an environment, there was no way he could survive. The only thing he could do now was to take a step back. Who said I'm leaving the ancient god's mountain? I'm telling you not to chase after me. Stop here. Do you understand? Lu Ming said coldly, and slowly retreated with the young woman. As expected, the great elder of the ancient god descendants didn't chase after them. He just watched as Lu Ming slowly left. Great elder, aren't we going to chase after him? Someone asked. Let this kid leave first. Anyway, This is the ancient god's mountain, and he can't get out. Let's keep him here so that the third miss won't be hurt. Also, immediately inform the clan leader about this and ask him to send more experts to chase after that kid. The great elder ordered. Yes. The other ancient god descendants started to move. Lu Ming flew with the young woman, and when he realized that no one was chasing after them, he heaved a sigh of relief. Lu Ming specifically flew to a remote place. After flying for a while, Lu Ming found a hidden canyon and flew in. You outsider, let me go, or my father won't let you off. The young woman shouted. Is your father the clan leader of the ancient god descendants? Lu Ming asked. Yes, you're scared now. Let me go, you despicable outsider. The young woman glared at Lu Ming. You're really the daughter of the clan leader of the ancient god descendants. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. No wonder those ancient god descendants were so afraid. He sighed that he was really lucky to have met the daughter of the clan leader of the ancient god descendants. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to escape. Stay here, or you'll get it. Lu Ming glanced at the young woman coldly. Kill me if you want. You vicious person, I'm not afraid of you. The young woman widened her eyes and glared at Lu Ming. She looked as if she was going to die. Chapter 2779. Lu Ming was speechless. Vicious? How am I vicious? You outsiders are all vicious people. You came to the ancient god's mountain with bad intentions. The young woman said coldly. Haha, we have ill intentions. We just came to pick some ancient god flowers. How is that vicious? Speaking of viciousness, you descendants of the ancient gods are the real vicious ones. You deliberately released the map of the ancient god's mountain to lure us here. Then, you trapped us with a formation and fed our flesh and blood to the ancient god flowers. Are we vicious or are you vicious? Lu Ming said coldly. You're talking nonsense. We descendants of the ancient gods would never do such a cruel thing. Don't try to slander us. The young lady gritted her teeth and glared at Lu Ming. She had a hateful look on her face. Does this woman really not know? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Stop pretending. You descendants of the ancient gods have set up a formation and used the ancient god flowers as the eye of the formation to absorb the flesh and blood of a large number of experts to condense the ancient god's heart. Don't think that I don't know. Also, the flesh and blood of us outsiders is not enough. I'm afraid that most of you descendants of the ancient gods will be buried with us. They will all be sacrificed. Lu Ming said coldly. As he spoke, he stared at the young woman to see her reaction. The woman's face turned pale. Then, she stared at Lu Ming angrily and shouted, You're talking nonsense. That's impossible. That formation was set up by my father. My father would never do such a thing. Don't you dare slander him. That formation was set up by the leader of the descendants of the ancient gods. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He sneered and said, There's nothing you can do if you don't believe it. But it's the truth. We got hundreds of maps of the ancient god's mountain from the outside and found the ancient god's mountain through the maps. But in the end, everyone died except for me. Next, the descendants of the ancient gods will die. Shut up. You're talking nonsense. Don't talk nonsense. I won't allow you to slander my father. The young woman shouted, but her eyes were no longer as firm as before. She looked suspicious. He's not talking nonsense. Right at this moment, an aged voice sounded out from outside the valley. When the voice sounded, it was still very far away. However, by the time the voice faded away, it was already very close to them. An expert, a peerless expert had come. Lu Ming was shocked. With a thought, the ice shackles flew out and wrapped around the young woman. He wanted to control the young woman. But when the ice chains flew out, a terrifying pressure came from the sky. This pressure was even heavier than a mountain. The 9 ice chains were actually locked down by this pressure. At the same time, the pressure pressed down on Lu Ming, causing Lu Ming to continuously retreat. At this moment, an old man holding a dragon-headed walking stick appeared in the valley. The wrinkles on the old man's face piled up like a mountain, making him look very old. Not good, it's a 3rd-level heavenly god. We're done for, Bone yelled. Grandpa Jiyu Bo. Seeing this old man, the young woman beamed with joy and ran towards him. Xing, are you all right? The old man looked at the young woman dotingly. The young woman's name was Jiyu Xing. I'm fine, Grandpa Jiyu Bo. This outsider dared to slander father. By the way, Grandpa Jiyu Bo, why did you say that is right? Jiyu Xing was quite happy, but when she said the last sentence, she showed a hint of doubt. I mean, what this little guy said is very likely to be true. Sigh. Jiyu Bo let out a sigh. Really? How is this possible? Impossible, this is impossible. Jiyu Xing's eyes were filled with disbelief as she kept shaking her head. Lu Ming said that his father had set up a formation to nourish the ancient god flower with the flesh and blood of outsiders. Later on, he would use the flesh and blood of the descendants of the ancient god to nourish the ancient god flower. How was this possible? She found it hard to believe. Sigh, I didn't believe it at the beginning either. However, since the patriarch set up the formation and gave the order to seal the mountain, I began to doubt it. All these years, I've been secretly investigating and finally found out the truth. Your father is too obsessed. He wants the descendants of the ancient god clan to walk on the path of glory and condense the heart of the ancient god. For this, he will do anything. Jiyu Bo sighed and his voice was filled with helplessness. How could this be? How could this be? Jiyu Xing was completely at a loss. This blow was too big for her. If Jiyu Bo had not told her this news, she would never have believed it. However, Jiyu Bo would not lie to her. Little guy, you can see the function of the formation at a glance and deduce so many things. You're not simple. Jiyu Bo looked at Lu Ming with a surprised face. I'm just guessing by chance. Senior, I have no ill intentions towards the descendants of the ancient god clan. I just want to take a few ancient god flowers. Senior, can you let me leave? Lu Ming explained. I'm afraid it's difficult for you to leave now. The patriarch has given the order to seal all the exits. Even if I want to help you, I can't, Jiyu Bo said. All the exits have been sealed. Lu Ming frowned. This was going to be troublesome. No, I have to stop my father. I have to stop him. Jiyu Xing shouted in a daze and was about to rush out of the valley. Jiyu Bo waved his hand and a divine power shrouded Jiyu Xing, stopping her. Grandpa Jiyu Bo, why are you stopping me? I want to see my father. I have to stop him. Jiyu Xing shouted. Xing, the patriarch is too obsessed. Moreover, things are about to reach the final stage. You won't be able to stop him even if you go. Instead, you'll be put under house arrest. Jiyu Bo said. Then what should we do? Are we just going to let it go? If it's true, how many of our clansmen will die tragically? We'll be sinners for eternity. Jiyu Xing shouted. Of course not. If I'm not wrong, the patriarch will definitely choose to take action at the ancestral worship ceremony a month later. At that time, I'm afraid that 90% of our clansmen will be sacrificed. Jiyu Bo said. Jiyu Xing shuddered. Yes, the ancestral worship ceremony a month later. At that time, all the descendants of the ancient god clan would gather at the 8 valleys to worship their ancestors. That was the best time to take action. During this period, I'll secretly gather some people. When your father takes action, we'll stop him. Jiyu Bo looked at Lu Ming and said, Little friend, why don't you stay and help this old man? Only by stopping the patriarch's evil deeds can you leave. At that time, this old man will give you some ancient god flowers. What do you think? All right. Lu Ming nodded. In this situation, he could only choose to agree. What else could he do if he didn't agree? Chapter 2780. Good. Now, leave with this old man. Come to this old man's residence. I will spread the news that Xing has been rescued by this old man. Little brother, you should change your appearance so this old man can bring you away. Jiyu Bo said. Lu Ming nodded. At this time, he could only choose to believe Jiyu Bo. Moreover, with Jiyu Bo's cultivation, there was no need to lie to him. He did not have a hostage in his hands. If Jiyu Bo wanted to kill him, it would be a piece of cake. Immediately, Lu Ming changed his appearance and clothes and followed Ji Bo outside. Soon, a group of people flew in front of them. When they saw Ji Xing, they were overjoyed. "Third Miss, are you all right?" Someone was overjoyed. "Don't worry, Third Miss has been rescued by me," Ji Bo said. "Lord Grand Elder, I wonder how that foreign brat is doing?" Someone asked. "That brat has already been killed by this old man. Not even his bones remain. You can rest assured," Ji Bo said. "I see." The group of people nodded, but when they glanced at Lu Ming, they still showed a trace of suspicion. However, in front of Ji Bo, they did not dare to be presumptuous. Ji Bo was one of the few remaining Grand Elders of the ancient god descendants. His seniority was frighteningly high. The group of people glanced at Lu Ming and then left. Lu Ming followed Ji Bo and arrived at Ji Bo's residence without any mishap. For the rest of the time, Lu Ming would stay here while Ji Bo would secretly contact experts whom he could trust. 1 month later, they would stop the leader of the descendants of the ancient gods. Ji Xing was obviously absent-minded. Time flew, and in the blink of an eye, a month had passed. This day was the day when the ancient god descendants worshipped their ancestors. The location was the gathering place of the 8 valleys, the place full of ancient god flowers. That place was the sacred place of the ancient god clan. The gathering place of the 8 valleys was full of people. Most of the ancient god descendants had gathered at the gathering place of the 8 valleys. On the northern cliff, there was a group of people standing. The leader was a middle-aged burly man with a square face and a dignified face. This person was the ancient god descendants' patriarch, Ji Xing's father, Ji Xiong. Beside Ji Xiong stood the first elder and a few other elders. Ancestral worship begins. Ji Xiong's voice resounded throughout the entire arena. "Welcome, ancestral altar." All the members of the ancient god clan shouted in unison. Then, 8 abnormally tall and sturdy men, carrying an altar, stepped into the air and flew over. With every step they took, there would be a dull thud in the void. It was as if they were walking while carrying a divine mountain. This altar was ancient and full of vicissitudes. It was the ancestral altar of the ancient god clan. When the 8 burly men carried the altar to the place where the 8 valleys converged, the altar emitted a resplendent light. Runes appeared on it, and then it flew into the void and began to expand. Whoosh! Ji Xiong flew to the altar and sat down cross-legged. All the descendants of the ancient gods bowed to Ji Xiong. "Today, after today, I will definitely rise again. The ancient god clan will definitely rise again. I hope you don't blame me. What you've done is worth it." Looking at the thousands of descendants of the ancient gods, Ji Xiong roared in his heart. He had been preparing for this day for far too long. Today, he would condense the ancient god heart. He wanted to recreate the glory of the ancient gods. "Second elder, 5th elder, you can all go down." At this moment, Ji Xiong looked at some of the people on the cliff. Many of them were elders of the descendants of the ancient gods. "We have to go down too." The elders were stunned. According to the usual practice, the elders only needed to stand on the cliff. There was no need for them to go down. "That's right. All of you, go down," Ji Xiong said again. His tone was a little heavier. Although the elders were a little confused, they did not disobey. They flew down to the place where the 8 valleys converged and stood in the sea of ancient god flowers. Of course, not all of the elders flew down. For example, the first elder and a few others were still standing there, not moving. Obviously, these people had known about Ji Xiong's plan and were supporters of Ji Xiong. "Where's Xing? Is she not here?" Ji Xiong looked at the great elder. "Third Miss is not here. She has been staying with Grand Elder Ji Bo," the great elder reported. "Is that so? That's good too." Ji Xiong's eyes flashed with a strange light. In fact, at this moment, Ji Xing was already nearby. Ji Xing, Lu Ming, Ji Bo, and some of the people that Ji Bo contacted came to a secret place in the distance and watched from a distance. "Father, I hope you won't do anything foolish." Ji Xing clenched her hands tightly. She was very nervous. At this moment, Ji Xiong began to speak. We, the descendants of the ancient gods, are the descendants of the ancient gods. We have noble blood flowing in our veins. We should be the rulers of the primitive universe, the royal family of the primitive universe. But now, we are hiding on a small planet. Fellow clansmen, are you willing to accept this? Ji Xiong's voice was heard. Yes, yes. The descendants of the ancient gods shouted. Their voices were loud enough to topple mountains and overturn seas. I am not willing to accept this either. Ji Xiong shouted. I once swore that I will lead our clan to glory in this life. For this, I will do anything, including my own life. What about you? Are you willing to sacrifice your lives for the glory of our clan? Yes. We are willing to sacrifice our lives. The descendants of the ancient gods shouted. Good. Since you are all willing, today is the day you sacrifice yourselves to make our clan successful. Activate the Grand Array, Ji Xiong shouted. His eyes were suddenly filled with cold murderous intent. Activate the Grand Array. The Great Elder and the others also shouted. Suddenly, countless runes appeared on the cliff and the ground of the Eight Valleys congregation. A light shield completely shrouded the descendants of the ancient gods in the Eight Valleys congregation. What is going on? Patriarch, what are you doing? Many of the descendants of the ancient gods felt that something was wrong and shouted. But the next moment, a scream was heard. A cloud of blood-red mist appeared and shrouded an ancient god descendant. The descendant's cultivation was not high. His flesh and blood were quickly corroded and turned into a pool of blood. Ah, what is going on? Patriarch, what are you doing? Many people shouted. Farther, in the distance, Ji Yuxing collapsed on the ground as if she had been drained of her strength. Her eyes were full of disappointment. As expected, as expected. Rush out and stop them. Remember, deactivate the Grand Array first. Ji Yubo roared and took the lead to rush out. The others followed Ji Yubo and flew out. Lu Ming mixed in the crowd and flew out together. Your sacrifice will be exchanged for the glory of our clan. Go in peace. Ji Xiong's cold voice was heard. Ah, beast. You are a beast. You want to sacrifice us for your own sake. Some elders finally saw through Ji Xiong's sinister intentions and shouted. Chapter 2781. Charge. Charge out. All of the ancient god descendants were enraged. They charged towards the light barrier and attacked it. However, the light barrier did not budge at all. They could not break it at all. Ah ah ah, screams were heard continuously. The blood-red mist in the formation grew thicker. Those with weaker cultivation could not withstand it at all. Once they were enveloped by the blood-red mist, only death was waiting for them. At this moment, Ji Yubo and the rest had arrived. Ji Xiong, you're ambitious. You want to condense the ancient god's heart by sacrificing so many people. I won't allow you to do that. Ji Yubo roared. Its eminent elder Ji Yubo. Its eminent elder Ji Yubo. The ancient god descendants who were trapped in the formation were overjoyed when they saw Ji Yubo. Ji Yubo. Ji Xiong looked at Ji Yubo with cold killing intent in his eyes. Leave Ji Xiong to me. You guys go and close the formation. Ji Yubo shouted at the others and pounced on Ji Xiong. You think you can stop me? Naive. Die. Ji Xiong shouted and flew up into the sky, punching towards Ji Yubo. Ji Yubo did not evade at all and also exploded with an attack, blasting out a terrifying attack. Boom. The two of them collided, causing a loud explosion. However, the result was a tie. As the leader of the ancient god descendants, Ji Xiong's strength was also shocking. He had reached the third level heavenly god realm. The two of them engaged in an intense battle. For a moment, it was hard to determine the winner. On the other hand, Lu Ming and the rest dashed toward the array base on the cliff. You want to close the formation? Don't even think about it. Stop them. If they resist, kill them without mercy. The Great Elder gave the order and soared into the sky, unleashing a terrifying attack. The Great Elder was a first-level heavenly god. He was extremely terrifying. However, there was also a first-level heavenly god on Lu Ming's side. He charged towards the Great Elder and both sides engaged in an intense battle. Lu Ming and the rest were engaged in a fierce battle with the others. Ice chains. At this moment, Lu Ming did not care about hiding his identity. He used all his strength. 9 ice chains flew out and swept towards the ancient god descendants. It's you, outsider. As soon as Lu Ming attacked, the first elder recognized Lu Ming. He let out a furious roar, his eyes filled with malevolence. It was all because of Lu Ming that he had watched helplessly as his son died in the array. He wished he could grind Lu Ming's bones to dust. Kill this brat, the great elder roared. Leave this brat to me. An old man charged towards Lu Ming. The saber in his hand slashed out rays of saber light. Clang, clang. The saber light slashed at the ice chains and sent them flying back. This old man was an elder of the ancient god's descendants. His cultivation had reached the peak of true divinity, and his strength was shocking. He wasn't any weaker than Lezhong back then. Lu Ming was immediately blocked, retreating again and again. Both sides were locked in a fierce battle. Father, stop it, stop it. At this moment, Ji Yuxing also flew over and shouted loudly. Xing go to the side. This has nothing to do with you. Ji Yuxiong shouted coldly. Father, stop it. Those are our people. Our ancient god's descendants don't have many people to begin with. If this continues, I'm afraid our clan will be exterminated. Ji Yuxing shouted. Nonsense. As long as I condense the ancient god's heart, I will definitely lead our clan to glory. Their sacrifice will be worth it. Ji Yuxiong roared, his eyes filled with madness. Father, Ji Yuxing's eyes were filled with disappointment. She gritted her teeth and rushed towards Ji Yuxiong. Xing you. Ji Yuxiong was slightly shocked when he saw Ji Yuxing rushing towards him. With such a shock, his speed was slightly slower. Ji Yubo seized the opportunity and punched Ji Yuxiong's shoulder. Ji Yuxiong retreated and coughed out blood. Ji Yuxiong, quickly close the array. Don't be stubborn. Ji Yubo shouted. At this moment, there were ancient gods' descendants dying in the array. His heart was bleeding. Impossible. Ji Yuxiong roared. If that's the case, don't blame me for being ruthless. Ji Yubo charged at Ji Yuxiong. Humph, Ji Yubo, do you think I don't know that you're trying to stop me today? You thought you were being discreet, but I've already seen through it. Come out. Ji Yuxiong smirked and waved his hand. Whoosh, whoosh. Suddenly, 2 streaks of rainbow light rushed out from not far away, flying towards Ji Yubo with astonishing speed. Both of them were old men. One was an old man while the other was an old woman. They seemed to be as old as Ji Yubo, Ji Yuxiong, Ji Yuling. It's you. Ji Yubo was astounded. These two were on par with him. They were the other 2 elders among the descendants of the ancient god. There were 3 elders among the descendants of the ancient god. They were Ji Yubo, Ji Yuxiong, and Ji Yuling. Ji Yuxiong and Ji Yuling charged at Ji Yubo. Their cultivation was at the 3rd layer heaven god realm. Their strength was on par with Ji Yubo's. Ji Yubo was no match for them when they teamed up. He was sent flying with a single blow and vomited blood. Ji Yuxiong, Ji Yuling, what are you doing? Even you two are being bullied. Ji Yubo yelled. However, Ji Yuxiong and Ji Yuling continued to charge at Ji Yubo as if they did not hear him. Their attacks were filled with murderous intent. Ha ha ha, stop yelling. I've long controlled their minds. They are completely under my control. You won't be able to stop me today, ha ha ha. Ji Yubo burst out laughing. He waved his hand and unleashed a god force, encapsulating Ji Yuxing and controlling her movements. At the same time, he moved and charged toward Lu Ming and the rest. Crap, Lu Ming and the others were astounded. 2 3rd-level celestial god experts suddenly appeared. Their strength had completely surpassed their side. They were definitely not a match for them. Lu Ming immediately backed away without hesitation. However, Ji Yuxiong had long noticed him. He harumphed coldly and waved his hand. A giant palm print slammed down at Lu Ming. A terrifying aura locked onto Lu Ming. Lu Ming had nowhere to run. However, Lu Ming would not surrender. He would not sit still and wait for his death. World extinguishing 3 strikes, moon slashing. Lu Ming let out a low roar and unleashed all his strength, turning it into a shocking spear ray that attacked the palm print. At the same time, 9 icy chains pierced at the palm print like 9 silver divine spears. Bang! Bang! A series of explosions were heard as the mountain-like spear ray slammed into the palm print, triggering a violent energy. However, Ji Yuxiong's palm print was too powerful. The abundant energy burst out and shattered Lu Ming's spear ray. Even the 9 icy chains were shattered. However, the icy chains were only a secret technique. They could be reformed after being shattered. Bang! Lu Ming was struck by the palm print and slammed heavily onto the ground. He spat out mouthfuls of blood. Many of his bones were broken. He was severely injured from the attack. Not dead. Ji Yuxiong was slightly startled. Although the attack was just a casual attack, it was still effective against a first-layer true god. He was extremely surprised. Chapter 2782. Patriarch, don't kill him. It's too easy on him if you kill him directly. I want to throw him into the array and watch him die a miserable death. The great elder called out with a ferocious look in his eyes. Because of Lu Ming, his son had died in the array and his flesh and blood had been melted. He wanted Lu Ming to die in the array as well. Only then would he be able to vent the hatred in his heart. All right, let's send him into the Great Formation then. Ji Yuxiong nodded. With a wave of his hand, a powerful force gushed out. With a push from this force, Lu Ming flew directly into the array. Back again, Lu Ming was speechless. He gathered his god force to resist the blood-red mist outside. However, due to the great battle outside, no one was controlling the array. The array's operation was slower and the mist was not dense. Therefore, the number of ancient god descendants who died was not high. After sending Lu Ming into the array, Ji Yuxiong attacked the others. In front of Ji Yuxiong, the others were unable to resist at all. They were all suppressed by Ji Yuxiong and sent into the array. Since they wanted to resist him, he would turn them into blood to nourish the ancient god flower and fulfill his ancient god heart. The people Ji Yubo had brought with him were wiped out. Ji Yuxing was controlled by Ji Yubo and could not move. Her face was filled with disappointment and anxiety. At this moment, Ji Yubo himself was in great danger. He was no match for 2 experts at the same level as him. He was injured and would not be able to hold on for much longer. Ji Yubo, let's go in together. Ji Yuxiong said coldly and attacked Ji Yubo personally. Ji Yubo was already no match for Ji Yuxiong, and with Ji Yuxiong, it was even harder for him to resist. In just a few moves, he was struck by Ji Yuxiong and suffered heavy injuries. Bang! Bang! Ji Yuxiong and Ji Yuling attacked Ji Yubo from the front and back. Ji Yubo's divine body almost exploded and his injuries worsened. He no longer had the strength to fight back. Ji Yubo, go in. Ji Yuxiong said coldly. Boundless god force suppressed Ji Yubo and sent him into the array. In this way, Ji Yubo and the others were annihilated. Grandpa Ji Yubo, father, don't. Ji Yuxing screamed. Shut up. What I'm doing is a major matter of reviving the descendants of the ancient gods. What do you know? Ji Yuxiong shouted coldly. With a flash of his body, he returned to the altar. Continue operating the formation, Ji Yuxiong ordered. Activate the formation. The first elder and the others appeared on the cliffs in the 8 directions, controlling the formation. Within the formation, dazzling runes filled the air, and the blood-red mist rapidly increased. More and more descendants of the ancient gods began to fall. Ah, Ji Yuxiong, you'll die a horrible death. You've lost your mind for your own selfish reasons. Many of the ancient gods' descendants cursed. However, Ji Yuxiong's expression was calm and unmoved. As the descendants of the ancient gods continued to fall, their flesh and blood seeped into the ground and were absorbed by the ancient god flower. The ancient god flower became even more alluring and plump. The ancient god flowers that covered the whole mountain emitted a rich fragrance. It's time. A look of anticipation flashed across Ji Yuxiong's eyes. His hands quickly formed seals as runes entered the altar beneath his feet. The altar emitted a resplendent radiance as runes extended out like tentacles, fusing with the entire array. Wang. At this moment, the entire 8 valleys converged and all the ancient god flowers emitted wisps of blood-red energy. They were like blood-red threads that converged towards Jiyu Xiong. Jiyu Xiong was instantly surrounded by a layer of blood-red energy. It's coming, it's coming. Ha ha ha, I'm going to condense the heart of the ancient god. Jiyu Xiong was ecstatic. They were called descendants of the ancient gods, but in fact, the ancient god bloodline in their bodies was extremely thin and their potential was very limited. However, once they condensed the heart of the ancient god, it would be different. Their potential would be limitless and their future growth would be astonishing. Sigh, it's still hard to stop it. Jiyu Bo sighed helplessly. Ha ha ha, the heavens are on my side. No, the heavens are on your side, kid. At this moment, Jiyu Mo was laughing in his sea of consciousness. He was extremely excited. Now that it's over, you're still laughing so happily. Lu Ming was speechless. Nonsense. Brat, your great opportunity has arrived. Jiyu Mo laughed. Opportunity? What opportunity? Lu Ming asked. Those idiots. If they killed you outside the formation, I wouldn't be able to do anything, but they thought they were smart and sent you into the formation. Then, I have a way. Jiyu Mo laughed. What way? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Don't you have the quantifier formula? Let the quantifier formula compete with the clan leader for the energy of the ancient god flower and attract all the energy of the ancient god flower. I have a way to make the energy belong to you and help you condense the heart of the ancient god. Jiyu Mo said. That works. Lu Ming was overjoyed. It should work. I can attract all the energy outside. The voice of the quantifier formula sounded. Then, won't all these people of the ancient god clan die? Lu Ming frowned. No need. As long as the quantifier formula absorbs the energy outside and competes with the clan leader will suffer a backlash and the formation will stop. Don't worry. In fact, the energy of the ancient god flower is enough to condense the heart of the ancient god. It's just that the clan leader is too greedy. Jiyu Mo said. Well, there's no time to lose. Let's get started. Lu Ming said hurriedly. Watch me. The quantifier formula gave out a dazzling light. Even Lu Ming's glabella was filled with a layer of light. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, a terrifying attractive force was generated. The energy that was gathering toward Jiyu Xiong suddenly changed direction and gathered toward Lu Ming. All of them poured into Lu Ming's glabella and entered the quantifier formula. However, it was not refined this time. After the quantifier formula, it immediately spread out and poured into Lu Ming's body. Condense, Jiyu Mo made a move. He condensed a magical seal and guided the energy to gather toward Lu Ming's heart. What's going on? What's going on? At this moment, Jiyu Xiong roared angrily. The energy of the ancient god flower kept gathering toward him. He had a feeling that the heart of the ancient god would be condensed soon. However, all of a sudden, the energy outside changed its direction and converged toward Lu Ming. What frightened him was that he had merged with the formation at this moment. He had no control over his body. The energy he had absorbed just now, and even his own energy, kept pouring out and rushing toward Lu Ming. This kid, damn it, stop it. Jiyu Xiong roared angrily. What's going on? The others were also baffled, unable to make heads or tails of it. Absorb, I'll absorb. The quantifier formula worked hard to absorb the energy outside. The energy in the ancient god flower kept gathering toward Lu Ming, including Jiyu Xiong's. Chapter 2783. Jiyu Xiong suffered a backlash. The blood-colored mist in the formation did not continue to become denser, instead, it slowly thinned. Damn it, little bastard, what did you do? Stop it. Stop it. Jiyu Xiong roared crazily. He was going crazy. Originally, the energy he absorbed from the ancient god flower had all been absorbed by Lu Ming. Even his own energy, blood essence, and blood had turned into wisps of blood qi and were absorbed by Lu Ming. His essence chi was being severely depleted, and his body was rapidly shriveling. This made him extremely terrified. At this moment, there was a scarlet light shining in Lu Ming's heart. From the measure character formula, energy was constantly flowing and gathering in his heart. Lu Ming was about to condense the ancient god heart. On the ground, the ancient god flowers that covered the mountains and plains were also shriveling. This is a backlash. Jiyu Bo's eyes lit up, as if he had seen something. He was very surprised. This way, at least the descendants of the ancient god race would not have to be buried with him. Close the formation, quickly close the formation, Jiyu Xiong roared. The Great Elder and the others quickly closed the formation. The formation's light barrier disappeared, and the blood-colored mist also disappeared. However, Jiyu Xiong did not obtain freedom. He was completely restrained, fused with the formation. As long as the measure character formula did not let go, he would not obtain freedom. Damn it, kill that kid. Jiyu Xiong roared. Kill. The Great Elder and the others charged towards Lu Ming. Don't even think about it. Everyone, attack together, stop them. Jiyu Bo roared. Attack. The formation disappeared, and those who were originally trapped in the formation could naturally attack. They furiously attacked the Great Elder and the others. They had a lot of people, and all of them attacked together, blocking the attacks of the Great Elder and the others. Kill. Jiyu Xiong and Jiyu Ling were controlled, and they completely obeyed Jiyu Xiong's orders. They also charged towards Lu Ming. Stop the two of them together. Jiyu Bo mustered up his remaining strength, and led a few heavenly god realm elders to attack Jiyu Xiong and Jiyu Ling. Both sides began a great battle. Although Jiyu Bo and the others were at a disadvantage, they managed to delay their movements. What are you doing? Jiyu Bo, you're treacherous. I'm going to lead the descendants of the ancient gods to glory. Why are you stopping me? You're treacherous and betraying your ancestors. Jiyu Xiong cursed like a mad dog. Jiyu Xiong, you've already gone completely insane. For your own selfish reasons, you're willing to sacrifice so many of our clansmen to fulfill your wish. You're the one who's rebelling, you're the one who's betraying your ancestors. Jiyu Bo shouted coldly. But Jiyu Xiong did not seem to hear it and just kept cursing. At that moment, his body had already shriveled up. He had turned into a bag of bones, resembling a skeleton. His essence chi and essence blood had almost been completely absorbed. Even if the quantifying character formula stopped now, he was already a cripple. This was because the divine flame in his body had been completely extinguished. At the same time, the ancient divine flowers all over the mountain also completely withered. All the energy was absorbed by the quantifying formula and poured into Lu Ming's body. Heart of the ancient god, condense. In Lu Ming's sea of consciousness, Jiyu Mo shouted loudly. Lu Ming's heart had completely changed. It was filled with a dazzling red color and was also filled with boundless energy, beating non-stop. Whoosh whoosh. Suddenly, a surge of extremely pure chi and blood gushed out from his heart. In an instant, it seeped into the depths of Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's divine body was rapidly transforming and improving at a shocking speed. The heart of the ancient god was successfully condensed. Roar. The moment the heart of the ancient god was successfully condensed, Lu Ming seemed to hear a loud roar coming from his heart as if it came from ancient times. It was as if he was looking at an incomparably huge ancient god rampaging through the universe. With a single punch, it could cause a planet to explode. At that moment, not only was Lu Ming's divine body improving rapidly, but even his cultivation was also rapidly improving. He was approaching the peak of the first-level true god realm at a shocking speed. Soon, his cultivation reached the peak of the first-level true god realm. Boom! A rumble erupted from his body. His cultivation had successfully broken through to the second-level true god realm. Furthermore, he was rapidly charging towards the peak of the second-level true god realm. Why? On the altar, Jiyu Xiong let out a miserable scream. He knew that he had been completely defeated. He had already become a cripple, his breath hanging by a thread. The moment Jiyu Xiong was crippled, Jiyu Xiong and Jiyu Ling's bodies shook violently and suddenly stopped. Originally, their eyes were blank, but at this moment, intelligence appeared. Jiyu Bo, stop! Jiyu Shong roared loudly. Jiyu Bo stopped and said joyfully, Jiyu Shong, you've recovered. I've recovered. Jiyu Shong nodded. His gaze swept the surroundings, and he sighed, fortunately, I almost made a big mistake. Jiyu Xiong, and Jiyu Luo. Jiyu Ling's gaze swept over the first elder and the rest extremely coldly. Her figure moved, rushing towards the first elder and smashing a palm down. Not good. The first elder was alarmed and hastily blocked, but how could he be Jiyu Ling's opponent? He was directly suppressed by a palm, vomiting large mouthfuls of blood. Jiyu Bo, Jiyu Shong, and the rest also charged over. The people following Jiyu Xiong were instantly suppressed. Why is it like this? The first elder was at a loss. In the end, his gaze fell on Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming's body was blood-red, and a wave of majesty was emitting from him. This majesty made all the ancient god descendants feel apprehensive. This was a suppression of bloodline. This meant that Lu Ming's bloodline was much denser than theirs. The ancient god's heart, he actually condensed the ancient god's heart. Jiyu Shong muttered to himself, filled with shock. It really is the ancient god's heart. I really didn't expect that after Jiyu Xiong's scheming, it would end up being a wedding dress for someone else's disciple, said Jiyu Bo with a smile. However, this kind of ending was already the best ending. The crisis of the ancient god descendants had finally passed. At this moment, Lu Ming's aura slowly stabilized, and the energy fluctuation on his body also disappeared. What a pity, I was just a little bit away from reaching the third-level true god realm. Lu Ming sighed. His cultivation was now at the peak second-level true god realm. Kid, you're still not satisfied after obtaining such a great opportunity. Most of the ancient god flower's energy was used to condense the ancient god's heart. Your cultivation has only increased a little. Moreover, your divine body has also improved by several times. You should be satisfied. Jiyumo said. Senior, what's the use of the ancient god's heart? Lu Ming asked. Condensing the ancient god's heart has already allowed you to possess a dense ancient god bloodline. The ancient god's heart will automatically absorb external energy to strengthen your divine body. In the future, even if you don't cultivate, your divine body will continue to grow stronger. Do you understand? Jiyumo said. You can grow stronger without cultivating? Lu Ming was dumbfounded. This ability was really heaven-defying. Chapter 2784. After knowing the function of the ancient god's heart, Lu Ming's heart was burning. If his divine body continued to strengthen, would he become as strong as the ancient god in the future? Brat, I have another piece of good news for you. Just now, I was constantly absorbing energy. There's still a lot of energy left in my body. Once I've refined it, I'll transfer it to you. Your cultivation will increase by another level. The quantifying formula said. Really? Lu Ming was about to laugh out loud. This time, although the process was very dangerous, the harvest was also very shocking. His cultivation had increased to the second level of true god realm and he had condensed the ancient god's heart. His divine body was also several times stronger than before. With the current strength of his divine body, it was enough for him to cultivate the battle formula to increase his combat strength by 4 times. What a great reward! After calming himself down, Lu Ming looked around and finally fixed his gaze on the Great Elder. At this moment, the Great Elder was staring at Lu Ming with hatred. You don't have to look at me like that. Speaking of which, I have to thank you. If you didn't want to send me into the array, I wouldn't have been able to condense the ancient god's heart. Lu Ming smiled faintly. The Great Elder was so angry that he almost vomited blood. He regretted it so much that his intestines turned green. Previously, Jiyu Xiong wanted to kill Lu Ming. He was the one who wanted to send Lu Ming into the array. He didn't expect that he would help Lu Ming and ruin their plan. Jiyu Xiong almost died from anger. He regretted not killing Lu Ming. If he had killed Lu Ming, it would have been great. He would have been the one to condense the ancient god's heart. However, There was no medicine for regret in this world. It was too late to regret now. Rumble. At this moment, there was a sudden change. The place where the 8 valleys converged, along with the 8 valleys, suddenly trembled violently, and the earth shook violently. The ancient god flowers that covered the mountains had already withered. At this moment, the ancient god flowers turned into ashes and dissipated. However, the ground emitted a dazzling light. What's going on? What's going on? Many of the descendants of the ancient gods began to shout. Even Jiyu Xiong, Jiyu Bo, and the others were at a loss, not knowing what was going on. The trembling of the ground grew stronger, and the glow on the ground grew brighter. In fact, an incomparably terrifying aura burst out. It was filled with an ancient and majestic aura. The crowd felt as if a huge mountain was pressing down on them. Some of them even felt like vomiting blood. Retreat! Jiyu Bo roared and ordered the descendants of the ancient gods to retreat. Only after retreating far away did the pressure lessen. Senior Jiyu Bo, what's going on? Lu Ming stood beside Jiyu Bo and asked curiously. I don't know. The 8 Valleys Convergence Ground is a sacred place for the descendants of the ancient gods. Throughout history, they have always offered sacrifices to their ancestors here. However, this has never happened before. Jiyu Bo frowned. He had lived for a long time, but this was the first time he had encountered such a situation. Boom! Boom! The 8 Valleys Convergence Ground shook more and more violently. In the end, a huge beam of light shot up to the sky. Originally, there was a mysterious formation around the ancient gods' mountain that shrouded it. This was also the reason why the ancient gods' mountain could not be found by outsiders. However, at this moment, the beam of light shot up to the sky and broke the formation that shrouded the ancient gods' mountain. Once the formation was broken, the ancient gods' mountain was exposed. As for the light barrier, it shot straight into outer space. The beam of light was too bright. Even those standing on another planet outside the ancient god planet could see the beam of light, let alone the ancient god planet itself. At least half of the people on the ancient god planet saw the beam of light. Countless people looked in its direction. What is that? What a terrifying movement. Could it be that a peerless treasure has appeared? Let's go and have a look. In a flash, many people rushed towards the direction of the ancient god's mountain. At this moment, Lu Ming and the others were dumbfounded. This was because at the Light Valley Convergence Ground, a huge door slowly appeared. It was a huge bronze door that was tens of thousands of feet tall. It stood between heaven and earth and there were ancient deities carved on it. Could this be the legendary ancient god door? Jiyu Bo seemed to have thought of something and roared in shock. His old body was trembling with excitement. Ancient god door. It must be the ancient god door. According to the legends, it is the ancient god door that leads to the ancient god world. I didn't expect the ancient god door to be hidden in the 8 Valleys Convergence Ground. Jiyu Xiong and Jiyu Ling also shouted in excitement. Their eyes shone with a burning light. There was an ancient legend among the descendants of the ancient gods. According to the legend, the ancient god door led to the ancient god world. If one had the chance to enter the ancient god world, he would have the chance to become an ancient god and be invincible. How could they not be moved? The ancient god door that leads to the ancient god world. Lu Ming was shocked when he heard it. When the ancient god door appeared, it stood between heaven and earth, emitting a dazzling light. The ancient god door was made up of 2 bronze doors that were tightly shut. However, as time passed, the light on the ancient god door dimmed. In the end, the light disappeared, leaving only the bronze doors standing between heaven and earth. That vast oppressive aura also disappeared. Let's go and take a look. Jiyu Bo, Jiyu Xiong, Jiyu Ling, and the others could not stay calm. They rushed towards the ancient god door. The other descendants of the ancient gods followed closely behind, leaving only a few people to guard the first elder and the others. Crack, crack. At this moment, Qiuqiu, who had been in the form of a bracelet on Lu Ming's wrist, turned into a round ball and floated in the air. A pair of eyes appeared on its eyeballs, staring at the ancient god door. Its big mouth opened and closed in excitement. Little guy, what are you trying to do? Lu Ming was curious. Crack, crack. Chocho's big mouth opened and closed continuously. Its eyes were filled with greed as it stared at the ancient god door. You can't be thinking of eating that bronze door, right? Lu Ming speechlessly asked. He hadn't expected Chocho to repeatedly nod. Lu Ming's forehead was covered in cold sweat. Little guy, don't act rashly. Lu Ming softly warned as he flew towards the ancient god door with Chocho. Jiyu Bo and the others had already landed below the ancient god door. The ancient god door was too big. It was tens of thousands of meters tall and several thousand meters wide. When they stood below it, they were as small as ants. Jiyu Bo and the others tried to push the ancient god door, wanting to open it. However, it was like an ant trying to shake a tree. The ancient god door didn't budge. In the end, almost all the descendants of the ancient gods joined hands to push the ancient god door, but the result didn't change at all. Lu Ming also joined in, but it was also useless. Little guy, don't waste your time. This door is incomparably ancient and heavy. Moreover, there's a grand formation inscribed on it. You won't be able to open it, said Jiyu Mo. Chapter 2785. Lu Ming smiled bitterly and shook his head. He retreated a distance and did not continue to attack. Chocho tried to rush out several times but was stopped by Lu Ming. After all, there were so many descendants of the ancient gods present and he was afraid that Chocho would cause a ruckus. Jiyu Bo and the rest tried all kinds of methods but to no avail. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. At this moment, there were rays of light flying over from afar. It was as though there was a meteor shower in the sky. It was a spectacular sight. The rest of the people on the ancient god planet had finally arrived. Is this the ancient god's mountain? Didn't our territorial master go to look for the ancient god's mountain? Why did the ancient god's mountain appear on its own? What a big door. What's that? Let's go and take a look. One by one, they flew towards the ancient god's mountain and the bronze door. Get lost. Jiyu Bo shouted angrily. The aura of the heavenly god realm spread out and shocked these people and they retreated. The ancient god planet was occupied by the territorial masters. The highest cultivation level of the territorial masters was peak true god and most of them had fallen in the ancient god's mountain. Among these people, the highest cultivation level was not higher than rank 6 true god. Under the pressure of Jiyu Bo's aura, they naturally did not dare to act rashly. However, as time passed, more and more people came. The sky was densely packed and the number was immeasurable. Jiyu Bo sighed. With so many people, even if his cultivation level was high, he could not suppress them. Moreover, the news would spread quickly. When the major forces of the Qin Tian starfield arrived, they would be even more powerless. In fact, the news had already spread. On the ancient god planet, there were not only natives but also disciples from the Qin Tian 13 sects like Lu Ming who had come to the ancient god planet to gain experience. They had already spread the news of the changes in the ancient god planet and the bronze door. Elder, what should we do now? Someone asked Jiyu Bo and the rest. Now that the ancient god's mountain had been completely occupied by others, there were people everywhere and they could no longer suppress the situation. Let's leave this place and find another place to stay. This place is no longer suitable for living. Jiyu Bo sighed helplessly. The other ancient god descendants were also helpless. However, they knew that this place wasn't suitable for living. When the powerful forces of the Qin Tian starfield arrived, they wouldn't be able to protect the ancient god's mountain. If they weren't careful, they might even be exterminated. Let's go, little friend Lu Ming. We're leaving. Take care of yourself. Jiyu Bo cupped his fists towards Lu Ming. Take care. Lu Ming nodded. Lu Ming, let's meet again if we have the chance. Jiyu Xing also came over to say goodbye. Although Lu Ming had brought Jiyu Xiong to the brink of death, Jiyu Xing didn't blame Lu Ming. She knew that Jiyu Xiong had only himself to blame for all of this. Not to mention, Lu Ming had saved most of the ancient gods' descendants. Take care. We'll meet again if there's a chance. Lu Ming smiled faintly. After that, the descendants of the ancient gods all left and disappeared into the horizon. As soon as the ancient god descendants left, the crowd immediately flew towards the ancient god gate, wanting to open it. Of course, the ancient god gate wasn't something that could be opened with a large number of people. The crowd couldn't open it even after expending a tremendous amount of effort. At this time, Lu Ming also quietly approached the ancient god gate. "Little guy, do whatever you want, but be careful," Lu Ming warned Chocho. Crack! Chocho darted out, opened its mouth wide, and actually bit down on the bronze door. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat as he watched nervously. Creak! Creak! Chocho fiercely bit on the bronze gate, letting out an ear-piercing sound. Boom! The gate shuddered violently as a terrifying aura burst out from it. Ah, what's going on? Nestle. Many people were directly sent flying by this pressure. Not good. Lu Ming's expression also changed. Chocho bit down even harder, biting with all its might. Its sharp teeth actually managed to bite into the bronze door. Creak! At this time, strands of lightning spread out from the bronze gate, emitting a terrifying energy fluctuation. Not good, Chocho, quickly retreat, Lu Ming hurriedly shouted. Because those strands of lightning were spreading towards Chocho. Crack! Chocho exerted all its strength and bit off a small piece of bronze. It then frantically retreated, but it was already too late. A strand of lightning struck Chocho's body, and Chocho was directly sent flying. Chocho! Lu Ming was greatly alarmed, and chased in the direction that Chocho was sent flying. He saw Chocho heavily smashing into the ground, and no longer moving. Lu Ming's heart was beating wildly, and he hurriedly ran over, only to find that Chocho's body was completely black, as if it had been burnt. Lu Ming's heart sank. But in the next moment, Chocho's round body rolled twice, and that big mouth appeared again, and crunched a few times. This guy was fine. Lu Ming was relieved. This guy, you're willing to throw away your life for food. Lu Ming picked up Chocho and scolded with a smile. Chocho turned into a bracelet and wrapped itself around Lu Ming's wrist. Its aura was very weak, and Chocho had indeed been heavily injured after being struck by the bronze gate's lightning. Let's leave first, Lu Ming thought to himself, because there were already quite a few people looking at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's figure flickered, and he left the ancient god's mountain, arriving at a large mountain more than 100,000 miles away to observe the changes in the ancient god's mountain. More and more people gathered around the ancient god's mountain. A few days later, a big shot indeed arrived. The Qin Heavenly 13 sects was the closest sect, and a terrifying figure had arrived. This person was shrouded in divine light, and emitted an incomparably terrifying pressure. Everyone was suppressed by this pressure, and they all frantically retreated, leaving the bronze gate. That figure stood alone in front of the bronze gate. Boom! That figure suddenly made his move. A terrifying divine light blasted towards the bronze gate, wanting to blast it open. Boom! Above the bronze gate, there was a violent explosion, but after the explosion, the bronze gate still didn't budge. "Open for me!" That figure shouted loudly. His aura was like a rainbow, and his divine power burned like flames. An even more terrifying aura erupted. Many people's bodies shook, and they vomited blood. They were almost crushed to death. Retreat, retreat, quickly retreat. Countless people frantically retreated, terrified. What a terrifying aura. Even though he was more than 100,000 miles away, Lu Ming could feel an incomparably terrifying pressure pressing down on him. He could only retreat 100,000 miles before he felt better. "Kid, that's a divine king," Gu Mo said indifferently. "It's really a divine king." Lu Ming sucked in a breath of cold air. This was the first time he had seen a divine king make a move. The power was truly earth-shattering, and it was incomparably terrifying. If a heavenly god was an expert of the Qin heavenly starfield, then a divine king was definitely an overlord of the Qin heavenly starfield. Chapter 2786. A god king was much stronger than a heavenly god. When a god king raged, a planet would explode. Legend had it that a battle between multiple god kings could even destroy a massive planet with life. One could imagine how terrifying a god king was. Countless people stood in the distant void, watching the ancient god mountain from afar. Boom! That divine king attacked again, bombarding the bronze gate. Rumble! The bronze gate emitted a dazzling light, blocking the god king's attack. However, it also caused a terrifying tremor. Lu Ming and the others stood in the void, watching the ground of the ancient god planet tremble. Cracks even appeared on the ground, spreading into the distance. Countless people were shocked by the power of the god king. They instinctively retreated a distance, watching from afar. Boom! Boom! That god king kept retreating, but it was useless. He couldn't open the bronze gate. The bronze gate even emitted bolts of lightning that were as thick as mountains. They struck the god king, forcing him to retreat. What terrifying power! Seeing the power of the lightning, Lu Ming felt a lingering fear. The lightning that attacked Chochio before didn't even have 1/10,000th of this power. Otherwise, no matter how strong Chochio's vitality was, it would only end up turning into ashes. It seems like you can't do it alone. A voice came from the distant starry sky. When this voice first sounded, it was still in the starry sky outside the atmosphere of the ancient god planet. However, when the voice faded, a figure appeared near that god king. The aura that this figure emitted was also terrifying. Without a doubt, this was also a god king expert. You might not be able to open it. The god king snorted. You'll know if you try. The god king behind him said coldly and also attacked the ancient god gate. Terrifying tremors erupted, but the result was the same as before. The god kings behind him couldn't open the ancient god gate. As time passed, more and more experts descended upon this place. The important figures of the Qin heavenly 13 sects arrived one after another. Even god kings kept arriving. Later on, the important figures of the three overlords and the Kongxian schools sects all sent god kings. Later on, even the Ice Soul race and the Scarlet Flame race sent important figures. Clearly, the appearance of the ancient god sect had completely alarmed the Qin Tian starfield. However, even with so many forces and so many experts, after many attempts, they still could not break open the door of the ancient god and enter the world behind it. There's a grand formation here. Only experts proficient in grand formations can open it. A god king spoke. Soon after, the news spread, and the experts from the Qin Tian starfield who were proficient in formations also rushed over. This formation is very complicated. It will take at least several decades to over 100 years to break it open. Finally, a formation master came to a conclusion. It still needs so many years. It seems that it will be impossible to open the bronze gate in a short period of time. I thought there would be a good show to watch. Let's come again in the future. Many people shook their heads and left the ancient god planet. It's time for me to leave. This trip can be considered a complete success. Lu Ming pondered for a while. Then, he left the ancient god planet and headed for the Kongxian school. After a long journey, Lu Ming returned to the Kongxian school. By now, the news of the ancient god planet had spread throughout the Qin Tian starfield. Many people in the Kongxian school were discussing this matter. However, as time passed, the door still did not open, and the popularity slowly died down. In the Kongxian school, the discussion was more about the inter-sect grand competition. There were many outer and inner disciples in the Kongxian school. Therefore, the inter-sect grand competition would be held every once in a while. As long as one showed off their skills in the inter-sect grand competition, not only would they be famous, but they would also be rewarded handsomely. The inter-sect grand competition would be held in 3 years. Many people were already rubbing their palms together, eager to give it a try. However, Lu Ming was not interested in it at all. During this trip to the ancient god planet, a large group of territorial lords had died at his hands. Their storage rings had all fallen into Lu Ming's hands. Lu Ming had obtained a large number of treasures and divine gems. Therefore, Lu Ming did not care about the rewards of the inter-sect grand competition. If he had the time, he might as well cultivate. When he returned to his courtyard, he did not see Autumn Moon. Lu Ming guessed that Autumn Moon must be cultivating in the Divine Vein Tower or some other place. Lu Ming sat cross-legged in the courtyard, quietly comprehending the battle character formula. Now that his divine body had improved by several times, the battle character formula could increase his combat strength by 4 times. He could already cultivate. As expected, once his divine body improved, his comprehension of the battle character formula came naturally. Not long after, Lu Ming successfully broke through the bottleneck and cultivated his combat strength by 4 times. Boom! Lu Ming's body emitted a strong battle intent. His body contained a terrifying amount of energy. 4 times combat strength. Lu Ming's eyes shone brightly. Right now, his cultivation base was at the peak of the 2nd level of the True God realm. If he could increase his combat strength by 4 times, he would definitely be able to defeat or even kill an opponent like Lezhong. Unfortunately, the chance of triggering 4 times combat strength is still not high. Lu Ming pondered. After his breakthrough, Lu Ming had researched it and found that the chance of triggering 4 times combat strength was only a few tens of %. He would need to trigger it dozens of times before he could succeed. However, Lu Ming was filled with confidence. As his comprehension of the battle character formula deepened, the chance of triggering 4 times combat strength would naturally increase. It would be the same as 2 times or 3 times combat strength, reaching a 100% success rate. Someone's coming. Lu Ming ended his cultivation. Suddenly, his expression changed. He sensed that someone was flying toward his courtyard. Lu Ming opened the courtyard's door and walked out. He saw 5 figures flying over. Wu Zifeng, Yu Linglong. 2 of them were Wu Zifeng and Yu Linglong. As for Wu Zifeng and Yu Linglong, there were 3 other people that Lu Ming did not recognize. Among the 3, there was clearly a young woman leading them. This woman was extremely beautiful. She could be said to be devastatingly beautiful. This woman, Lu Ming's heart shook. This woman's appearance was somewhat similar to Yu Xin's. Behind the woman were 2 young men. They were like flower escorts, protecting the young woman. Lu Ming, you finally returned from outside. Yu Linglong smiled and asked. I just returned. Do you need something from me? Lu Ming smiled. My cousin is looking for you. So when we heard that you've returned, we came to find you. Yu Linglong smiled. Your cousin? Lu Ming looked at the young woman. Unfathomable. This was Lu Ming's first impression of this young woman. This young woman's cultivation was unfathomable. Lu Ming was completely unable to see through her. Come, let me introduce you. This is my expression, Ouyang Qingxiang. She is my aunt, Yu Xin's daughter. Yu Linglong said. She really is Yu Xin's daughter. Lu Ming's heart shook. When he saw Ouyang Qingxiang, Lu Ming felt that she was somewhat similar to Yu Xin. When Yu Linglong said that she was her cousin, Lu Ming had such a guess. Chapter 2787. Let me tell you something else. My cousin is the saintess of the Kongxian school. Yu Linglong smiled. Saintess. This time, Lu Ming was really surprised. The Kongxian school had a total of 5 saints and 2 saintesses, all of whom were qualified to compete for the position of the patriarch. Unexpectedly, Ouyang Qingxiang in front of him was one of the 2 saintesses. Saintess Ouyang, it's an honor to meet you. Lu Ming clasped his fist and greeted. I've also heard of your name, Lu Ming. You entered the Kongxian school as the first place in the Qin Tian 13 sects assessment. When you entered the Kongxian school, your cultivation was only at the demigod realm. However, in just a few decades, you stepped into the true god realm and became an inner disciple. This cultivation speed is really shocking. Ouyang Qingxiang smiled. I was just lucky, just lucky. Lu Ming said a few modest words and changed the topic. I wonder why Saintess Ouyang is looking for me. I won't beat around the bush. I'm here to invite you to join my faction. What do you think? Ouyang Qingxiang said. As expected, Lu Ming curled his lips slightly. Ouyang Qingxiang really came to invite him to join her faction. However, Saintess Ouyang Qingxiang came personally. Her sincerity was not bad. Unfortunately, Lu Ming did not plan to join any faction. He also did not want to listen to others' orders. Saintess Ouyang, I'm afraid I have to disappoint you. I don't plan to join any faction for the time being. Lu Ming said. Don't want to join? Lu Ming, you have to think about it carefully. Saintess Ouyang was slightly stunned. She obviously did not expect that Lu Ming would reject her personally. That's right. Lu Ming, you have to think about it carefully. My cousin is such a beauty and she's still single. Yu Linglong whispered as she winked at Lu Ming. Lu Ming speechlessly touched his nose and shook his head. Lu Ming appreciates Saintess Ouyang's good intentions, but Lu Ming really doesn't intend to join any faction. Brat, don't be ungrateful. The Holy Maiden has personally come to invite you. She has already given you a lot of face. Yet, you have repeatedly rejected her. You really don't know what you're talking about. That's right. Does this brat not know his situation? Both the Great Heaven faction and Floating Light faction want to kill you. Do you know that our Saintess is inviting you at the risk of falling out with the Great Heaven faction and Floating Light faction? Do you understand? The two youths behind Ouyang Qingxiang couldn't bear it any longer and loudly berated. Both of you, shut up. Ouyang Qingxiang scolded, making the two youths shut up obediently. Lu Ming, if you don't want to agree, I won't make things difficult for you. Goodbye. Ouyang Qingxiang cupped her fists and said. Wait. At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly called out to Ouyang Qingxiang. Ouyang Qingxiang's eyes lit up, thinking that Lu Ming had changed his mind. Saintess Ouyang, although Lu Ming doesn't intend to join your faction, it's still possible if we work together. Lu Ming said. Work together? Ouyang Qingxiang was slightly stunned. That's right. Work together, let's work together. Lu Ming nodded his head once again. Brat. The two youths behind Ouyang Qingxiang couldn't hold back anymore. One of them shouted, Brat, who do you think you are? You dare to say that you want to work together with the Saintess? Do you really think you're some big shot? That's right. Our Saintess controls a faction with countless experts and countless resources. Who do you think you are? What qualifications do you have to work together with our Saintess? Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself in the mirror? Ridiculous, simply ridiculous. The two youths looked at Lu Ming with disdain and contempt. You two, stop talking. Ouyang Qingxiang glanced at the two youths with dissatisfaction. Lu Ming smiled faintly, too lazy to bother with the two youths. He looked at Ouyang Qingxiang and said, Saintess Ouyang, think about it carefully. Lu Ming's expression was calm, full of confidence. Ouyang Qingxiang revealed a pondering look. However, the two youths couldn't take it anymore. Arrogant and conceited. I want to see what qualifications you have to be so confident. What qualifications do you have to talk about working together with the Saintess? One of the youths roared and stepped out. A powerful aura erupted from his body as he raised his hand. Vigorous divine force condensed into a giant hand and pressed down on Lu Ming. Ouyang Qingxiang's eyes flickered, but she didn't stop him. She also wanted to see how strong Lu Ming was. Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng wanted to stop him, but it was too late. 7th level True God Realm. This youth's cultivation was at the 7th level True God Realm. Moreover, he was a genius with great battle strength. A giant hand pressed down on Lu Ming. Swoosh. Lu Ming pointed his finger and a gust of finger force, like a spear gleam, attacked the palm print. Puff. The palm was penetrated by the finger force and collapsed. The youth was shocked. He obviously didn't expect Lu Ming to break his move so easily. Take another move of mine. Divine Horned Dragon Seal. The youth roared and activated a divine skill to the extreme. He blasted it toward Lu Ming with great power. However, the youth's cultivation was at the 7th level True God Realm. No matter how strong his battle strength was, it was nothing in Lu Ming's eyes. Now it's my turn. Lu Ming's cold voice resounded. A long spear appeared and swept out. Boom. When the large seal formed by the youth collided with the spear, it emitted a dazzling light. Then, it collapsed. The spear didn't stop and pressed down on the youth. Bam! The youth was sent flying by the spear and coughed out blood. This battle strength, Ouyang Qingxiang's beautiful eyes were filled with shock. Lu Ming's battle strength was completely out of her expectations. A 2nd level True God Realm could defeat a 7th level True God Realm Supreme Talent. Such battle strength was terrifying. This guy has become even stronger. Even though Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng knew how terrifying Lu Ming was, they couldn't help but sigh. The other youth behind Ouyang Qingxiang was almost scared to death. He stared at Lu Ming with a pale face. "You, do you want to try?" Lu Ming looked at the youth and said coldly. The youth shuddered and broke out in cold sweat. How would he dare to step forward? His battle strength was almost on par with the previous youth. If he went up, he would be defeated by Lu Ming. Amazing, amazing. Brother Lu's battle strength is unparalleled. I have seen many geniuses, but I have never seen a supreme talent like Brother Lu. Ouyang Qingxiang exclaimed. Now, do I have the qualifications to cooperate with the Saintess? Lu Ming smiled. Of course I have the qualifications. If Brother Lu doesn't have the qualifications, then who does? Ouyang Qingxiang said. Although Lu Ming's current strength was strong, it wasn't in Ouyang Qingxiang's eyes. She valued Lu Ming's potential. With Lu Ming's talent, if he grew up, he would definitely have a place in the Kongxian school. It wasn't impossible for him to break through the heavenly god realm and become the 8th saint of the Kongxian school. Chapter 2788. However, I'm afraid that some of the supreme talents under your command will not be convinced and will object. Lu Ming said with a smile. N-A-Com, how could that be? Ouyang Qingxiang smiled and turned to look at the two youths. Her face darkened as she said, Why aren't the two of you apologizing to Brother Lu? Her voice was cold, and it naturally emanated a dignified aura. The two young men's expressions were ugly. They lowered their heads and walked toward Lu Ming. They bowed and said, We were blind previously. Please be magnanimous and don't stoop to our level. It doesn't matter. Lu Ming waved his hand and said, Saintess Ouyang, let's work together. I believe that you won't regret your decision today. I never regret my actions. Ouyang Qingxiang smiled. They chatted for a while before Ouyang Qingxiang took her leave. Lu Ming, you're getting more and more powerful. We're no match for you now. Yu Linglong pouted. Your cultivations have surprised me as well, Li Qie said with a smile. Lu Ming looked at Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng curiously. Their auras were extremely strong and they had clearly reached level 4 True God Realm. Back in the Yu Long Mystery Realm, the two of them had just broken through to level 1 True God Realm. How many years had it been since then? The two of them had broken through to level 4 True God Realm. This cultivation speed was shocking. Lu Ming had the help of the quantifying character formula and a series of fortuitous encounters to reach his current cultivation level. He did not expect that Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng's cultivation speed was not any slower than his. Some time ago, Zifeng and I went back to his hometown and underwent devilish cultivation. We thought that we could surpass you. I didn't expect you to be so abnormal. Yu Linglong said helplessly. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. It seemed that Wu Zifeng's background was really not simple. By the way, Lu Ming, the Kongxian School's intersect competition is about to begin. Are you going to participate? Yu Linglong asked. No, I'm not interested. Lu Ming shook his head. That's a pity. If you were to participate, I reckon everyone would be shocked. Yu Linglong's face was filled with pity. Both sides chatted for a while. Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng left. Lu Ming went back to his room and continued to cultivate. The Sky Xian sect's grand competition could be considered a grand occasion for the Sky Xian sect, as it was a competition between the 7 holy sons and holy daughters. Every faction had many outer and inner disciples. In the intersect competition, whichever faction had the upper hand and which faction was stronger would play a crucial role in the future development of that faction. Some new disciples would make a choice according to the strength of their faction. It would even affect the views of some of the higher-ups in the sect. It would also have a great impact on the future competition for the position of the sect master. All the major factions attached great importance to it. Therefore, in the past few years, the prodigies of the various factions who went out rushed back to the Kongshen school to strengthen themselves and wait for the intersect competition. The Tenho Siko faction and Fuck Siko faction also temporarily put Lu Ming's matter aside and focused on preparing for the Kongshen school's intersect competition. Lu Ming did not care about what was happening outside. He was focused on cultivating. Time flew by and 3 years passed in the blink of an eye. The intersect competition was about to begin. It was worth mentioning that in these 3 years, Lu Ming's cultivation had improved again and reached the level 3 true god realm. When he was in the ancient god's mountain, Lu Ming had absorbed the energy of countless ancient god flowers and condensed the ancient god's heart. His cultivation had also increased to the peak level 2 true god realm and was just 1 step away from the level 3 true god realm. After 3 years of cultivation, his cultivation had finally improved a step, and his battle prowess had also increased by a notch. Of course, his divine body was constantly improving under the nourishment of the ancient god's heart. Although the speed was not fast, the effect would be shocking in the long run. The key was that he did not need to spend time cultivating and would naturally become stronger. This was the terrifying part of the ancient god's heart. At this time, Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng came to look for Lu Ming again. Lu Ming, are you really not going to participate in the intersect competition? Yu Linglong asked again. No, I'm not interested. Lu Ming shook his head. Then let's go and take a look. The experts from the 7 factions will all be there and many experts on the True God ranking list will participate. It will be very intense. I wasn't even born in the previous intersect competition, Yu Linglong said. The Kongshen school's intersect competition was not held at a fixed interval. Sometimes it would be 10,000 years and sometimes it would be hundreds of thousands of years. The last intersect competition had been held more than 80,000 years ago. The True God ranking list. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. As the name suggested, the True God ranking was a list of the most powerful people in the True God realm. However, it was completely different from the Empty God ranking list. The Empty God ranking list was a list in the Kongshen school that listed the most powerful Empty God realm experts in the Kongshen school. The True God ranking list was not only limited to the Kongshen school but also the Qin Tian 13 sects. On the True God ranking list, there were a total of 100 top experts in the True God realm from the Qin Tian 13 sects. Without a doubt, this ranking list had a huge influence in the Qin Tian star zone. Those who could be on the True God ranking list were the top experts in the True God realm. Lu Ming was also curious. How would his current combat strength compare to the top experts in the True God ranking list? Alright, let's go and take a look. Lu Ming nodded. Then, he, Wu Zifeng, and Yu Linglong headed in the direction of the intersect competition. The intersect competition was located in between the outer and inner areas. There was a vast piece of land with a wide view. It was perfect for holding the intersect competition. In the middle of the open space, there was a huge fighting ring. At that moment, the fighting ring was surrounded by people. Lu Ming and the rest flew over and blended into the crowd. They did not attract much attention. The Tianhong saint is here. Suddenly, someone called out. Everyone turned to look in the same direction. Lu Ming also looked over curiously. A group of people flew over. The leader was a young man in luxurious clothes. He had a noble aura and a confident smile on his face. It was as if he was in control of everything. The people around him were all elites. They were all supreme talents from the Tenho Siko faction. Is this the Tianhong saint? A cold light flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. Le Zhong was from the Tenho Siko faction. His feud with the Tenho Siko faction was getting deeper. He felt that he would have to fight with the Tianhong saint sooner or later. Fuck Siko is here too. Suddenly, someone shouted. Sure enough, another group of people flew over from another direction. The leader was a young man in a white shirt and pants. His long hair fluttered in the wind and he looked handsome. This person had an extraordinary aura. He was Fuck Siko. The people beside Fuck Siko were all supreme talents. Lu Ming saw Huang Wen among them. Chapter 2789. The Tenho Siko faction and Fuck Siko faction faced each other from a distance. Strong battle intent filled the air. Ranina the grand competition hadn't started yet, but the atmosphere was already tense. Cousin is here. Yu Linglong shouted happily. Saintess Qingxiang is here. Then, someone shouted. Everyone looked into the distance at the same time, especially the male disciples. Their eyes lit up. A group of people flew over from afar. Most of them were female disciples, and only a few of them were male disciples. Many of the female disciples were outstanding beauties. No wonder many of the male disciples' eyes lit up. The person leading the group was Ouyang Qingxiang. Is that Saintess Qingxiang? She's indeed outstanding. She's so beautiful. She's really a peerless beauty. Many of the outer disciples had never seen Ouyang Qingxiang before, and their eyes lit up at this moment. The saint of Tianhong and Fuck Siko also looked at Ouyang Qingxiang with burning flames in their eyes. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. More figures flew over from afar. The other saints and saintesses also arrived one by one. The saint of Jixia led the people from his faction. The Flaming Sky Saint Sun had led the Flaming Sky Saint Sun's faction here. The saintess Xuetan also led the people from her faction. 6 of the 7 saints and saintesses from the Kongxian school arrived quickly. Without a doubt, they were all peerless geniuses with unfathomable strength. There's also the Paragon Saint. I wonder if he will come personally this time? It's hard to say. The Paragon Holy Sun is the strongest among all the Holy Sons. The Paragon Holy Sons faction is also the strongest among all the Holy Sons. The Paragon Holy Sun did not appear personally in the previous grand competition. I hope the Paragon Saint will appear personally. He's my idol. Many people were discussing. Among the 7 saints and saintesses from the Kongxian school, the Paragon Saint was undoubtedly the strongest. He was also the one who was most likely to inherit the position of the sect leader in the future. Therefore, the Paragon Saint's faction was also the most powerful. In the previous sect grand competition, the Paragon Saint did not appear, but the Paragon Saint's faction still came out on top, suppressing the factions of the other saints and saintesses. Look, the Paragon Saint's people are here. Someone shouted. A group of people flew over from the north. There were many of them, far more than the other saint sons and saintesses. That is the Paragon Saint. It really is the Paragon Saint. The Paragon Saint has personally appeared. Someone cried out in surprise and excitement. Paragon Saint. Lu Ming's gaze also looked over. A large group of people flew over, but Lu Ming noticed a young man in the middle with a glance. The young man was tall and sturdy. His eyes were like stars, and his face was chiseled like a knife. He was full of dignity and had an aura of supremacy. Needless to say, Lu Ming knew that this person must be the Paragon Saint. When the Paragon Saint arrived, the Tianhong Saint, Fuck Siko, Ouyang Qingxiang, and the others' faces became serious, as if they were facing a formidable enemy. The people from the Paragon Saint's faction stood at the side and waited silently. After a while, figures flew out from the depths of the inner sect area. The sect leader of the Kongxian school, Longshausen, had arrived. Some inner sect elders had also arrived. Now that most of the people have arrived, I announce that the sect grand competition has officially begun. Like the previous competitions, the outer sect disciples will compete on the stage. The higher the ranking, the better the rewards. Now, for the outer sect disciples who have signed up, I will draw lots to decide their opponents. An inner sect elder landed on the stage and announced the rules of the competition. Then, he drew lots to start the competition. First, the outer sect disciples would fight, and the fierce battle began. However, Lu Ming was not very interested in the competition between the outer sect disciples. Moreover, there were not many experts who were worthy of his attention. For example, Yimo, Feng Yuandao, Feng Luozi, and the others who were in the top 10 of the empty god list had already broken through to the true god realm and entered the inner sect. Currently, there were not many talents in the outer sect. However, many people were still watching the competition seriously, especially those who were from the 7 Holy Sons and Holy Daughters factions. They were looking for the geniuses in the outer sect who had not joined any faction so that they could invite them. The competition between the outer sect disciples lasted for half a month before it ended. Then, it was the competition between the inner sect disciples. The competition between the inner sect disciples was the real highlight and attracted the attention of the audience. Of course, not all inner sect disciples were required to participate. The rules stated that only true gods could participate. Those who had reached the heavenly god realm did not need to participate because there were too few of them and they were too powerful. For the competition between the true gods, all the factions sent their true god realm experts. It was indeed exciting. Lu Ming was also dazzled by the competition. There were different races, different divine skills, and even different secret skills. They were all extraordinarily powerful. However, on the whole, it was still the Supreme Holy Sons faction that dominated the competition. In the end, all the factions sent out their top experts on the True God list. There were only a total of 100 people on the True God list. Divided among the Qin Tian 13 sects, there were less than 10 people in each sect. Moreover, the number of people on the True God list had always been dominated by the three overlords. In the Kongxian school, there were a total of 8 people on the True God list. These 8 people were all from the 7 Holy Sons and Holy Daughters factions. The other 6 Holy Sons and Holy Daughters each had 1 person, while the Supreme Holy Sons faction had 2 people. Boom! Boom! In the fighting ring, the 2 top experts on the True God list were fighting fiercely, constantly colliding with each other. The experts on the True God list are indeed powerful. Lu Ming watched carefully and sighed in his heart. The fighting strength of the 2 people in the fighting ring was above Le Zhong's. One should know that Le Zhong had been at the peak of the True God realm for many years. He had cultivated several divine skills to the peak of the 4th stage and had mastered royal-grade divine power. His fighting strength was strong. However, both of them were stronger than Le Zhong. The True God list listed the most powerful people in the True God realm, and it was not just for show. One of them was from the Tenho Siko faction, while the other was from the Holy Sun Ji Shia's faction. The 2 of them exchanged a few hundred blows, and in the end, the expert from the Tenho Siko faction won and defeated his opponent. The Tianhong Saint smiled, while the Holy Sun Ji Shia's face was gloomy. The competition continued, and it had reached the final stage. It was a clash between the experts on the True God list, and every match was very exciting. After a few more days, the competition finally ended. This time, it was still the Supreme Holy Sons faction that won the first place. In particular, there was one person in the Supreme Holy Sons faction who was extremely powerful. He was ranked 6th on the True God list. Most of the top 10 on the True God list were occupied by the 3 overlords. The fact that he was ranked 6th on the True God list showed how powerful he was. This person was the number 1 expert in the True God realm in the Kongxian school. There was no doubt that the Supreme Holy Sons faction would win the first place. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,